My in-laws mocked my job and kicked me out after I lost work, so I bought the house they rent and doubled their rent without warning. I'm a 32-year-old freelance graphic designer, and from the very beginning, my in-laws never saw me as good enough. When I first met Jenna's parents, I was dressed in jeans, holding a tablet, and talking excitedly about the brand work I was doing for a startup. Her dad gave me this tight-lipped smile and said, "Oh, so you draw pictures for a living?" Her mom asked if I ever planned on getting a real job. I laughed it off back then. Jenna squeezed my hand under the table and whispered, "Ignore them. They just don't get it." That should have been my first red flag. But I was too in love to care. I figured with time they'd warm up. I showed up for every family dinner. I designed their anniversary party invitations for free. I even helped Jenna's brother with his resume. Still, the jokes never stopped. At Christmas, her dad gave me a necktie for when I finally get an office job. Everyone laughed. I laughed too, but it stung. Jenna would brush it off. That's just how they are. Don't take it personally. But it was personal. What really got under my skin was how often they brought up Jenna's ex, Brian. The guy was a hedge fund analyst, drove a BMW, and wore expensive watches. Brian never let Jenna lift a finger, her mom would say, glancing at me like I was a burden. Jenna always rolled her eyes but never defended me out loud. Still, I let it go. I told myself they were old-fashioned, that they didn't understand the modern world. That love would be enough, but I was wrong. So wrong because the moment I stumbled, when I really needed them, they didn't just turn their backs on me. They shoved me out the door. It all started with one phone call. A startup I'd been working with for months suddenly pulled the plug on our contract. They said funding had dried up and they needed to restructure priorities. Just like that, $15,000 of expected income vanished overnight. I sat at my desk staring at the screen, feeling like the air had been sucked out of the room. When I told Jenna that evening, she hugged me tight. "We'll get through this," she said softly. "We've hit bumps before." I believed her. For a brief moment, I felt like we were on the same team, but within days, something shifted. She started getting distant. Shorter texts. Late nights with vague explanations like, "I'm just clearing my head." One night, I overheard her on the phone with her mom whispering, "No, he hasn't found anything yet." I know. The knot in my stomach started growing. A week later, I walked into our apartment and immediately sensed it. Something was off. The lights were on. The living room was too quiet. Then I saw them. Jenna's parents, her older brother, and Jenna herself, all sitting on the couch like they were waiting for a show to start. Her dad stood up. "We think it's best if you take some time to figure things out. Jenna needs stability." I blinked. "What are you talking about?" Her mom chimed in. "You've been unemployed for weeks. You can't expect Jenna to carry the weight forever." "I've carried the weight before," I snapped. "I paid our rent when Jenna was between jobs. I covered your anniversary party." Jenna wouldn't meet my eyes. She just said, "I think you should stay with a friend for a while." That moment felt like being pushed off a cliff in slow motion. I grabbed a duffel bag and packed whatever I could with shaking hands. Nobody said a word, not even Jenna. The first night I left, I crashed on my buddy Malik's couch with nothing but my duffel bag and a cloud of shame hanging over me. I remember sitting in the dark that night, replaying everything in my head, every joke, every cold stare, every time Jenna let her family belittle me while I sat there smiling, pretending it didn't hurt. But this wasn't just disrespect. This was betrayal. I texted Jenna the next morning. No reply. Called her that evening, straight to voicemail. 2 days passed. Then a text came, but not from her. "Please give Jenna space. This is what's best for everyone right now." It was her mother. Space. I'd been evicted from my own marriage like a guest who overstayed his welcome. I tried one last time, sent Jenna a message just saying, "Can we talk, please?" No anger, no blame, just hope. She left it on read, and then it got worse. Malik called me into the living room one evening. "Man, I think you need to see this." He handed me his phone. It was a picture from Jenna's Instagram story, her sipping wine at her parents' house, captioned, "Back home." Feeling supported, my heart dropped. Back home? We shared that apartment. That was our home. And now I was just, a temporary chapter? I started hearing from mutual friends that Jenna was telling people we were on a break and that things just weren't working out because of financial stress. Financial stress? I paid the rent for 2 years straight. I covered her when she got laid off. I even offered to take on her student loan payments temporarily. But none of that mattered now. I'd been recast in their family narrative as the unstable dreamer who couldn't provide, and worst of all, they made sure I had no voice in the story. A week after the Instagram post, I got a message from someone I didn't expect, Jenna's cousin, Lila. We'd always gotten along, but she usually kept her head down at family events, avoiding the drama. This time, she didn't. Her message read, "Hey, I'm sorry. I saw what they've been saying. It's not right. Thought you should know." Attached were screenshots from a group chat. Jenna's mom, dad, her brother, even Jenna, he was always mooching off her. If he really cared, he'd wear something besides hoodies and design logos. Jenna deserves a real man. Like Brian. At least Brian had ambition. Brian again. The golden ex, the guy who cheated on her in college, but had the magic touch of working in finance and driving a leased BMW, and then came the one that hit like a brick. He manipulated Jenna into thinking she was happy. She's better off now. I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. Manipulated? I spent years building a life with Jenna, late nights working from the couch, saving for trips, helping her navigate anxiety attacks. I never once made her feel small, not like her parents made me feel every holiday dinner. I wanted to scream, to call them all out, to expose their hypocrisy. Instead, I just typed, "Thanks for sending this, Lila. You didn't have to." "But I appreciate it." She replied, "You didn't deserve this. I'm sorry they're acting like this." That night, I sat with a beer in my hand, staring at the ceiling fan in Malik's apartment, feeling every ounce of bitterness rise like bile. I had never felt so humiliated, so misjudged, so erased. But underneath the shame, something else started to burn, slow and steady. It wasn't sadness anymore. It was the beginning of a plan. 2 weeks after the screenshots, I got an email that made me sit up straight. Subject line, "Urgent branding project referred by Jess Tran." Jess was an old client from 3 years back, brilliant, no-nonsense, and fiercely loyal. Her friend was launching a fintech platform and needed a full branding overhaul. Logo, UI templates, pitch deck, social graphics. A rush job, high stakes, and high pay. I was skeptical at first. I'd been burned, but something about this felt different, and I needed the win. I poured everything I had into it, 14-hour days at Malik's kitchen table, 2 energy drinks deep, sketching mock-ups while the sun rose. I sent the first batch of concepts in 48 hours. The CEO responded in all caps, "You nailed it. Hire this guy full-time." Just like that, I was on retainer. $6,000 a month. Consistent, respectful. No backhanded jabs about my hoodie. The best part? I didn't tell Jenna, didn't post about it. I wanted them to think I was still broke, still floating. I let them keep their story, because I was writing a new one. I moved into a short-term studio rental. Not fancy, but mine. I started sleeping better. Eating again. Even cracked a few smiles with Malik over takeout. Then one night, Malik came home holding a beer and said, "You ever wonder who owns Jenna's parents' house?" I blinked. "Why?" He shrugged. "Dude, I was showing a property nearby. Neighbors said the house isn't even theirs. They rent it. Apparently the landlord died a month ago." I sat up. "Wait, what?" He nodded. "Son's handling the estate. Probably selling soon." I felt something click in my brain, like gears aligning after months of chaos. I didn't say anything to Malik at first. Just nodded slowly, but in my chest I felt that slow burn turn into something sharp. This wasn't just a comeback. It was going to be poetic. I couldn't sleep that night. My mind kept circling the same thought. They don't own the house. All these years of acting like royalty, belittling me for not having a 401k or a corporate job, and they didn't even own the roof over their heads. I texted Malik the next morning. "You got the name of the estate rep handling the sale?" By noon, I was on the phone with an older guy named Doug. Calm voice sounded tired. He confirmed what Malik heard. "Yes, the property's going up for private sale. Father passed recently. House needs some updating, but it's structurally solid. You interested?" I didn't even hesitate. Very. Doug sent me photos. The place looked exactly like I remembered. Off-white siding, cracked driveway, tiny backyard with the sad little shed Jenna's dad always bragged about like it was a guest house. I asked one question. Do the tenants know it's being sold? No, Doug said. Not until paperwork's finalized. Perfect. I didn't want revenge. Not really. I just wanted peace. And a little poetic justice. And this? This was the universe placing it in my lap. Within a week, my LLC, one I had registered under a generic name, made a full cash offer. I didn't want anything tracing back to me. Doug was impressed. You really want this place, huh? I do, I told him. It's sentimental. Technically not a lie. The sale closed quietly. No signs, no warnings. The house was mine, and they had no idea. Jenna's parents kept living there like nothing had changed. Her dad posting political rants on Facebook from that same ratty recliner. Her mom sharing memes about lazy millennials, probably with me in mind. I started drafting the lease adjustment letter that night, and just before I hit send, I smiled. Not the kind of smile you post online, the kind that comes when you know the next move is yours. 2 weeks after I bought the house, I got an email that made me freeze. Subject, hey, can we talk? It was from Jenna. My chest tightened. I hadn't heard from her in over a month. I hovered over the message for a full 5 minutes before opening it. I know things ended badly. I've had time to think. I'm not asking to get back together right away, but I'd like to talk. Maybe over coffee? I didn't respond. 3 days later, she emailed again. This time, the tone shifted. Okay, I'll be real. My parents are freaking out. Their landlord's estate was sold and the new owner is planning to raise the rent. They've lived here 15 years. It's going to break them. I was hoping you might know someone. I remember you used to help with contracts. Can you talk to the buyer? Maybe negotiate? There it was. The ask. I laughed out loud. Actually laughed. She thought I still knew someone in real estate. Thought I'd pull a favor. Thought I'd save them, I replied 2 days later. Short and sweet. I'll see what I can do. I didn't lie. I could do something, but I wouldn't. Not the way she wanted. A week later, she texted again. This time, she wanted to meet in person. Dinner just to talk. I agreed. She chose a cozy Italian place we used to go to. The whole scene felt surreal. She looked nervous, like she was rehearsing lines in her head. The moment we sat down, she started with flattery. How mature I seemed. How strong I was handling everything. How her parents had learned their lesson. Then came the plea. They can't handle a rent hike. Can you please talk to the new owner? I just nodded slowly. I'll reach out. Can't promise anything? She smiled like she'd won. Like I was still the same guy she could guilt into helping. But this time, she had no idea who she was really talking to. The night of the dinner played out like a performance. Jenna wore soft pink, her I'm harmless and approachable color. Her makeup was light, like she wanted to appear natural and sincere. I recognized the look. I'd seen her use it on interview days and on her parents when she wanted to talk them into paying for something she didn't want to budget for. But tonight, the act was for me. She talked about missing our rhythm, how things had moved too fast, how everyone was under pressure. Her tone was sweet, her eyes watery, her voice barely above a whisper. I played along, smiled at the right moments, stirred my pasta slowly. Then her parents showed up, uninvited, but not unexpected. They walked in like they owned the place. Her dad clapped me on the shoulder and said, "Look who's back in the family." You know, things happen. Men bounce back. "We're proud of you," I nearly choked. Her mom leaned in close and added, "It would mean a lot if you could talk to the new landlord. We know you have connections." Jenna slid her hand across the table and touched mine. "You've always been the reasonable one. I know you'll do the right thing." The manipulation was so casual, so well rehearsed, but they didn't see it in my eyes. I was done playing the fool. I looked at Jenna and said, "Yeah, I'll make sure the message gets delivered." And I meant it. 3 days later, I sent the formal notice, typed on clean letterhead from my LLC, stamped, sealed, and hand-delivered. The letter stated, "As per new lease agreement under updated property ownership, monthly rent will be increased by 100%, effective 30 days from receipt. Failure to meet terms will result in lease termination proceedings." No name, no emotion, Just business, the same way they treated me. I waited, and within 24 hours, her dad called me, and this time he wasn't laughing. The voicemail came in at 7:13 a.m. "Are you out of your goddamn mind?" It was Jenna's dad, furious and rattled. I could hear the panic barely hidden beneath his growl. He went on for nearly 2 minutes, calling me manipulative, unstable, accusing me of pulling some childish revenge stunt. I didn't respond. I just played it back twice. Then came the email. This one from Jenna's mom, written like she was still addressing some rental office clerk. "We've been long-standing tenants, and this increase is unreasonable. We are prepared to seek legal counsel if this is not corrected immediately." I responded formally, just like I'd rehearsed. "The terms of the lease are clear. As the new property owner, I reserve the right to adjust rent with appropriate notice. You are free to vacate if unable to meet the new rate. No signature, no name. Just management. Oak Shield Properties, LLC BY evening." Jenna messaged me directly. "Was this you? Please tell me this wasn't your idea." I didn't answer, but I know she knew. The silence was louder than any confirmation I could have given her. By the end of the week, I started seeing the ripple effects. A friend who lived a few blocks away texted, "Yo, saw a for rent sign go up at your in-laws' place." Another day passed and I drove by, slow and quiet. Her dad was out front on the phone, pacing like a caged animal. Her mom sat on the porch steps, head in her hands. I rolled past in a rental car they wouldn't recognize. Windows up, no satisfaction. No smile, just peace. Not the kind you get from revenge. The kind you earn after being silent for too long. Because they didn't just raise the rent on me emotionally for years. Now I was charging interest. And this time, I had the deed. The fallout came fast. Jenna's brother, Nate, messaged me on Facebook 2 days later. We hadn't spoken in months. He used to mock my laptop life over dinner, once joked I was technically unemployed with Wi-Fi. Now? "Dude, what the hell did you do?" Dad's blood pressure spiked. Mom's crying nonstop. Jenna's a wreck. "You happy now?" I didn't reply. Because no, I wasn't happy. This wasn't happiness. It was release. I'd spent years letting that family chip away at me piece by piece. Being told I wasn't enough, being smiled at in public, mocked behind closed doors. I wasn't trying to destroy them. I was just done letting them destroy me. Then came the begging. Jenna's mom emailed again, no more threats this time. "Just desperation, please. We can't afford this. We've lived here for 16 years. We have nowhere else lined up yet. Give us time. I'm begging you as a mother." As a mother, the same mother who once told Jenna, right in front of me, that marrying me meant settling for potential. I granted them 2 extra weeks. Not out of kindness, but closure. I wanted them to know what it felt like to be at someone's mercy. On move-out day, I drove by again. This time I parked. Watched from a distance. A rental truck sat in the driveway, half-packed. Her dad shouted at the movers. Jenna's mom sat slumped against a cardboard box labeled "Fragile Kitchen." Then I saw her, Jenna. She stepped out onto the porch with her arms crossed, eyes scanning the street like she felt my presence, and when her gaze landed on my parked car, she froze. We locked eyes through the windshield. Just for a moment, she didn't wave, didn't blink, just stared, and I stared right back. No anger, no gloating, just a message written in silence. This is what happens when you burn the man who built the bridge you now stand on. They moved out just before the extended deadline. No farewell emails, no apologies, no explanation. I got a notification from my property manager a week later. Locks changed, keys returned, unit cleaned out. Just like that, the house was empty. I thought I'd feel something. Satisfaction, maybe, but mostly I just felt still. I walked through the house the next day. The walls still smelled faintly of her mom's vanilla plug-ins. The carpet in the hallway was worn from years of footsteps. The same recliner indent remained on the living room floor, and yet they were gone. I didn't erase them. I replaced them. 3 weeks later, a young couple moved in. Newly married. Both teachers. I met them once just to get a feel. They looked at the place like it was a blessing. They called it cozy. I gave them a generous rent discount. Not because I needed to, but because they reminded me of how I thought life with Jenna would be. Kind, mutual, full of quiet love. Jenna never reached out again. I heard bits through mutuals. Her dad took an early retirement. Her mom was depressed, and Jenna was working part-time at a wellness shop across town. But not once did she message me to say, "I'm sorry, not for letting them mock me, not for sitting silent when they humiliated me, not for choosing comfort over loyalty, and that was okay. Because by then, I didn't need closure from her. I had created my own. I poured myself into work, upgraded my studio apartment, invested in new gear, and picked up clients who actually valued me. I stopped second-guessing my worth. I realized something. They didn't hate me because I wasn't successful. They hated that I didn't need their definition of it to feel whole. And in the end, I was the one with the deed, not just to a house, but to my own peace. Months passed. The house they once ruled from was now filled with laughter that didn't belong to them. Every time I reviewed the rental reports, I smiled, not because of the money, but because of what it represented. Then one evening, as I was winding down from a client call, my phone buzzed. An unfamiliar number. I ignored it. A few minutes later, a text came through. "Hey, I heard you're doing well. I know this might be out of nowhere, but would you ever want to talk? Just as friends? Jenna." I stared at the message for a long time, feeling nothing but disbelief. After everything, being kicked out, humiliated, erased, this is how she resurfaced? With a vague olive branch and a fake sense of nostalgia, I typed slowly, measured, calm, thanks. But I'm not interested in going backward. Simple. Final. No shade, no sarcasm, just truth. She read it within seconds. No reply, and that was the last time I ever heard from her. Sometimes people ask me if I miss her. If I miss the comfort of being in a relationship, the shared Netflix accounts, the routine. Here's the truth. I miss who I thought she was, not who she turned out to be. There's a quote I once read. If they wanted you gone when you were low, they don't deserve to see you rise. That stuck with me. Now, I've risen, quietly, without fanfare. No revenge TikToks. No dramatic posts. Just progress. They mocked my career. Now it pays me 6 figures. They kicked me out of their world. Now I own the one they used to live in. And the best part? I don't need them to see it. I don't need applause, because the power move wasn't buying the house. The real power was learning that walking away with dignity is worth more than any rent they could have paid.